Alright, I'm back with another Destiny 2 video, being filmed right after the live stream about Heresy, which launches in a week. That was surprising to me, because it just seems like yesterday Act 3 was launching, and I found out that's because this is a much shorter act. I think it's 4 or 5 weeks, as opposed to a 7-week gap, and that explains it, I guess. So here we are, we're going to start a new episode, and yesterday I did a video about how I thought things would kind of play out and whether this may or may not be a redemption over the last 2 episodes, which people didn't really like very much. I had some predictions, and the main one about the story and where things were going did not really pan out at all, and I think it's kind of bad what is happening instead, at least from the sound of it. There's a lot to go through, not just story stuff, but the activity, some sandbox stuff, some weapons, things like that. I'd say I like the stuff in the back half of this, and I don't like the stuff in the front half. The front half being, unfortunately, the story and the activity. So that's not great, but yeah, we'll just go through it here. So there is no Xivu Arath and Savathun stuff, at least nothing that they're not hiding from us. Rather, it's not like Xivu Arath or Savathun who gets the Echo. It is some Dread who we don't know. I mean, we don't really know any Dread except so we're all technically a Dread. I don't know. And then obviously, you know, the Witness was the boss of the Dreads. So I don't know, some random Dread who I guess we're going to get to know. And then Oryx is back. Somehow Oryx returned. He's like a ghost or something. They just said he returns in some form. And then in the key art, there's like a big ghostly image of Oryx near the Dreadnought doing stuff. I don't know. You know, we've brought Oryx back, I think, a few times at this point. It's just very, very weird to me that, you know, the listed characters from our end that are coming in are Eris, Drifter, and Sloane. Sloane, of all people. I guess this is because she's like partially taken, corrupted, but this gives me Season of the Deep flashbacks, a season which I really did not like, so that's not ideal. I don't really understand how they said that this was about the Hive Pantheon and all this stuff when Savathun and Xivu Arath are seemingly not there. Again, maybe they're hiding him. Maybe they'll come in later. I don't know, but that seems very strange to me that they would not really even be mentioned once here. The good news, I guess, could be that if they're not a part of this at all, that almost certainly means that they're being carried over to Frontiers content. So if one of the things that we're doing in Frontiers is going to, say, Fundament or something, we would have our Hive buddies to go there with us, Savathun, and I guess Xivu Arath. You know, we've been waiting to officially meet Xivu Arath for a very long time now, and that has not happened. It does not appear to be happening here. We'll see. I think the activity looks strange, and I don't know. So this is called the Nether, and it's on the Dreadnought, obviously, and it's reusing a lot of the patrol spaces, you know, mission spaces, whatever, a lot of the pieces of the old Dreadnought, at least somewhat similar to how they used Leviathan. They described this as this a kind of roguelike, which is a series, you know, of buffs and things that you'll get over time as you go through these stages. I think there's 3 stages, so it's not, you know, super long. But one major change is that they are treating health as a resource. So in some ways, this feels like a permanent attrition modifier from what I can tell. They said that it's not just health dropping from like killing enemies and stuff, though I did see a little wells and stuff. There's like potions to some degree, and like I think there's some bonuses that give you more potions and things, but like your health doesn't regenerate. So you're really going to be relying on healing abilities, probably more so than you have been in any activity before this, you know, other than things that are just attrition modifier, but this isn't a modifier, it's the whole activity. I understand maybe why they want you to try and be a little more creative and focus on healing builds or overshields or damage reduction or whatever, instead of just hiding and waiting for shields to regen. But this is the kind of thing where I feel like it might be a good idea in theory, but not in practice, because I've never enjoyed playing attrition at all. I don't think most people have. So using that for an entire activity, even with health potions or whatever, does not seem like it's going to be enjoyable. Granted, you know, we're only watching gameplay here, but even watching the gameplay and having their health be flashing red every 2 seconds from, you know, damage with no regen, not great. And also, I guess, what's the point really of the recovery stat if it's not really factoring in at all? Do you have to redo your entire armor set to get rid of all your recovery now? It's just a very, very weird setup. And I didn't see anything about the activity itself that looked particularly innovative. It just seems like a cross between, this whatever the Season of the Deep thing was, where like you pick a buff at the end of the parts, and then, I guess something like the coil where it's a little randomized and stuff. It just seems like it's sort of throwing those two ideas together. A weird part about all this is that, yeah, the Dreadnought's coming back, but it's not coming back as a patrol space, and it doesn't seem like, a lot of it is coming back. So there's 3 modes for Nether. There's like normal mode and then expert mode, obviously. But then there's like explore mode, which it lets you like take your time more. You can go in a solo and kind of explore for secrets and stuff. But it's still Nether. You're still like doing the activity, and you're still, you have to go through the 3 rooms and all this. So like, very weird idea to have like you're running an activity, but you can like slow walk it as long as you want to explore. But it's so the Dreadnought is not a real patrol zone. Whether or not it's being deleted at the end of this, I don't know, because if it was like a full patrol space, like, yeah, obviously I think it probably would be, because they always delete everything that's big. But if they want to add it to their new like ritual Vanguard playlist thing, that they're kind of rotating in and out, maybe it stays. If it's not that big of a chunk of a space or whatever, they can keep it. But I don't know. This activity, I would not say looks like it makes a great first impression, and also it's the only activity they talked about. So a lot of these seasons have had like, where admittedly, even if you weren't the most engaged with the season, they had, a good amount of different activities, 2, 3, 4 activities sometimes of varying lengths and such. And that is not here. At least they're not telling us about it. There's, it made it seem like there is an exotic quest, and we know there's a dungeon. There are theories that Xivu Arath might show up in the dungeon, but they are probably not going to put a huge character like that behind a paywalled dungeon past dungeon. But we can circle back to that. I don't know. It doesn't really look great to me or sound great from that limited preview. But obviously, I'm not going to fully judge anything before we're playing it. But like, this does seem, despite adding the Dreadnought back, like this seems smaller in scope than the past 2 episodes, even, where, we might not like Echoes. Echoes essentially added 3 strikes to the game, more or less, like shorter strikes, but strikes all the same. Revenant brought back the entirety of Prison of Elders and made it better, essentially. Did a whole new onslaught thing. Like, here, it's this, and then Vogue now has craftable weapons. I guess I'm skipping ahead there, but like, run Vogue again, get craftable Vogue weapons. Seasonal weapons are not craftable. That was the hint beforehand, but maybe people will be satisfied with craftable Vogue weapons. I doubt they will. So that's like kind of the bad part, quote unquote, or what doesn't look very good. Maybe there's like these boons and things, like maybe, they can give you things like the Traveler's Blessing, where like you'll slide forward and it'll shoot out stasis crystals, or corrupted boons will like make you a glass cannon where you do more damage and take more damage, stuff like that. So maybe that could change gameplay in a fun way, but I don't know, man. That part was not great for me. What was really cool, I thought, was the rest of it. The weapons and abilities and stuff they showed off seemed pretty cool. The weapon design, just at baseline, is very neat. They talk about how the Dreadnought is having like its skin ripped away or something, and that's like the aesthetic of the weapons, which I think looks very cool. They're really heavily leaning into this bolt charge mechanic that they're adding to Arc this season. It's very funny because like this past season like ended up almost being kind of an Arc season eventually anyway, with the new with the artifact things they added. Now it's like a really heavy Arc season with some Void and some Strand. So it's all Arc all over again. Things to buffs like Delicate Tomb and Stormcaller's Trance and Geomags and stuff. So big Arc season. I've pretty much been using Arc since Act 2 already, so I guess we'll keep doing that. They show like an aerial denial frame that has like a lightning crackle fire zone, which is cool, and I think it does something with bolt charge. They showed a support auto rifle, which I guess you're supposed to be using since people don't regen health, and it does something like it has a perk where if you heal an ally enough for something, they start shooting out strand projectiles, which is pretty funny. Um, and they unveiled a system where there's like a special tier of heretical weapons, heretical weapons that are adept more or less, but also sort of blended with the concept of shinies in the sense they have double perks. They do have a different look to them. I'm not 100% clear on how you get them. Like, yes, it is also, it's higher difficulty stuff, but also they made it sound like there might be some like longer term pathway toward focusing your way toward a heretical weapon. And like, I'm not sure if it's like mandatory to be running probably non-match made expert to get those, or if there are other ways. But that system sounds pretty good. And again, whether or not crafting is missed or not depends on how focusing actually works, how much loot you get, the quality of the loot. Like, I can't say it's better than crafting at this point or not better, because it could be anyone's game. And like they did say they were kind of going back to Into the Light Onslaught stuff. And if it feels like that, I think that's fine. If it feels like last season, no, that sucks. So I guess we'll see. They detailed some new aspects that are coming to the classes. I think there's one. I think there's one of each. I'm not sure if there's more than that. There is a arc turret, another arc turret. Well, I guess it's arc buddy. It's an arc turret that you can spawn after doing something, charging something up, and you throw it blinds, and then once it's set up, it chains lightning. It looked cool when they were using it in practice. That's Warlock. And then there's a Titan one where you slam down a barricade. It gives you an ally's bolt charge over time, just standing there, and then you can unload your bolt charge. So bolt charge is like you build up a certain number of stacks, and then it shoots down a lightning bolt and blows up things. It's kind of like Cloud Strike, I'm assuming, but it's now kind of an inherent arc ability. And then I think it's used on abilities that call it down, but this says your weapons can discharge max bolt charge. That sounds pretty cool. There's a really interesting sounding Hunter Void aspect where if you go invisible and kill a target or emerge invisible, there's a marked target. You kill that target, it shoots out weakening smoke, and if you or allies go in there, you'll be invisible again. Then you can mark a new target and keep doing this, and you get buffs when you're killing marked targets like ability, energy, and gun stat buffs and all that stuff. So they pitch it like a Hitman. Where you're running around killing marked targets. I don't know. That's kind of cool. I don't know if it'll be like, meta in practice or whatever, but it sounds pretty fun. And you can use that obviously with other, hunter exotics like Amioculus and stuff like that. So curious to try that out, certainly. Moving to the end here, they detailed a couple of exotics. The craziest one is this gun that's just like a complete circle, which I guess is a submachine gun. This is what is some sort of exotic quest. I don't know if it's going to be a quote big exotic quest. Not that the last one was terribly big either, but the reason I'm saying that is because it's something that will have catalyst, that will have intrinsic stuff like that. So it's that type of exotic. Something about like charging up blight powers, and then they shoot blight seekers out on kill. But the most interesting part is that the ammo on this just regens like super fast. So that's kind of an interesting aspect of it, and it just looks insane. Then there is the first primary ammo trace rifle, which looked a little odd. I mean, that's cool like in concept, but like you charge up a meter by shooting, and then you like long press to turn it into a jolting pulse rifle. It looked a little clunky to me personally. Certainly not as cool as the circle SMG, but I'm sure there's some people who want a primary ammo trace rifle. I don't remember the last time I've used trace rifles in any meaningful capacity, but I guess it's something different. They showed off the artifact, which I can't remember all of them, but it looked like it had some pretty cool strand void and especially arc things. This is the part of the season, every season I like the most, is them introducing a bunch of new stuff, either temporary or permanent. And then you kind of building, crafting a build around it. Oh, that's one more thing with the heretical guns is one more bonus there is they have these things called fragile mods, which are like really, really powerful, but temporary mods that those guns can use. So that's like another layer of build crafting I think you can do this season. And like, this is the part I really, really like. I enjoy making new builds or buffing old builds and stuff. The bad news is if this story ends up not being good and this activity does not end up being fun, well, that's not going to be great for the whole episode. So again, this seems pretty light compared to the last two episodes. If this is the only activity, they are going to do a dungeon, but that's not technically part of this. And I don't know, unless this activity is just like utterly amazing, which I have my doubts it will be, just based on the health regen thing alone. I think that's going to be very annoying personally, especially if you're relying on match-made teammates, say, most of the time to help you heal and things like that. I don't, this isn't Marvel Rivals. People are not really used to having that role 90% of the time in Destiny. So I don't know. I don't know how that's going to go. So I come away from this not being super enthused. Like, I kind of assume that Bungie's going to do, cool new builds, cool new weapon perks and artifact perks and stuff. Like, that's kind of a given. Like, they're always really good at that. But, I was hoping really for something to kick into gear with the story, which from the base premise here with Sloane and a random dread and the return of Oryx again, like that, not a good start for me. And then the activity itself, unless it's a lot better than it looks, not wild about that either. But anyway, let me know what you thought. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more to talk about soon. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.